Good morning, YouTube. Facebook friends, how y'all doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? You know what? This is ridiculous. I can't shout for a whole video. Just let me... that's better. I know my sound engineering, if that's what you want to call it, isn't exactly top tier, but Joyce, Hoise, Croisy, that was noisy.
Good morning, YouTube. Facebook friends, how y'all doing today?
Isn't that better? And I'm doing fine, thank you. How are you, Mr. Well, look, I don't like to usually comment on people's appearance, but, well, it's just something that's so obvious and right there. I just can't not comment on what I'm seeing. So, Mr. Tank Top, how are you? Wait, what did you think I was talking about?
So, this is going to be a rant.
Oh, fun. No one's ever said anything extremely silly while they're just ranting off the top of their head and then simply putting said rant on the internet unedited. So I expect nothing but brilliant observations here.
I have been driving around a little bit today, every day, but today it hit me.
Was it another car? 'Cause you, like other people, seem to think that the best thing to do while driving around a multi-ton murder machine is to do something extremely distracting that makes you constantly look away from the thing you're supposed to be looking at, aka the road. I have a funny feeling the only one who's going to be hitting things is you.
Some things are really just pissing me off.
Ah! He said a naughty! YouTube, don't kill me, please!
I'm getting super frustrated with people out here.
Oh god, I know, right? They just walk around like they're allowed to. What's with that? And sometimes they talk. I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to do that, but that doesn't stop them. It's a travesty, I tell you. All these humans thinking they can go around their day existing all over the place. It's disgusting.
Now, before I go any further, let me say, to my friends on Facebook, to people I know, to people I converse with, that, we have an actual historical, factual relationship.
These must be the ones getting your back up, since it's a little known fact that every last one of the worst people you have ever met, well, I don't want to scare you, but you've met them. And that's one of the many reasons I don't go outside.
This is not directed towards you, okay? This is directed towards the faceless keyboard warriors who just want to fucking argue all the time.
While you studied the blade, I mastered the keyboard.
Using nonsense.
Nonsense. I'll have you know that I gibber in the woo-wah way, and you can just skibbity a hooble floop da-doo. I think I've made myself clear.
Alright, that being said, here we go.
Wow, dude, real talk? Going from 1 to 100 like that and back again? Well, it ain't good for you. We'll probably give you some kind of hideous physical deformity. Luckily that hasn't happened, but you really do need to be careful.
So check it out. If I show you a picture that shows absolutely zero curve from any altitude.
So yeah, this guy is a flat earther if you hadn't figured that out yet. It's been a while and man, I do love me some low-hanging fruit. It makes a nice change from eating stray cat.
How can you possibly sit there and argue with me and say, or anyone else for that matter?
'Cause it's like my job, and it's fun. And I'm kind of a giant butthole who enjoys picking people's arguments apart, 99 times out of 100 with their own logic and arguments. Seriously, it is the most fun I can have without having to have a long talk about my feelings afterwards, which is always very difficult since I have none.
And say, with a straight face, well, the math does indeed prove a curve because we know how to figure out the radius of a wall.
Well, that's one of many, many, many ways that we know that the Earth is a sphere, or close enough. It's not just one thing, It's everything that tells us, each fact supporting the last, until we go, well, everything that I measure shows me that it is this way, so I'm not going to suddenly go, but when I look at it, it seems to be another, so I'm going to go with that. No, that would be dumb.
Right, so we can mathematically figure out that there is a curve. And the mathematical figure is 6 to 8 inches, people, per mile, dropping away from you. Because remember, if you're standing on a ball, every direction from you is downhill.
No, that's wrong and shows your fundamental misunderstanding of the premise. Do I have to get the meme out? Yeah, I'm going to get the meme out. That's just not how the world functions. Here, let me show you. Here's little me going for a walk on your idea of how the world works as a sphere. Eventually, I fall to my death. But that's wrong. If you think of it this way, it might make more sense to you. Essentially, from our perspective, the world rotates under your feet because gravity is always pulling you directly towards the Earth. Does that make sense? Probably not, but I tried.
What don't we understand? This is common sense. Children know this, okay?
Yes, but I'm sure you're going to tear all that knowledge apart with a super smart argument that isn't you just having no idea how anything works.
Alright, so, if we can measurably determine the rate of curve, why can't we see it?
Because the Earth is like really, really big. That's like asking why I can't tell what building I'm stood next to when I'm purely looking at it with my face pressed against it as hard as I can. I'm pretty sure this is a church.
How are you going to sit there and say, yeah, well, we know it's there, but we can't observe it?
We can observe it. Who said we can't? Because that guy is perhaps, let's say, as smart as you. Because we totally can. All you have to do is get high enough. In fact, talking about high enough, you should probably look into that. Because boy, you mad. And that's just not healthy. I mean, if you are so correct, you shouldn't be getting upset. But if you're emotionally attached to your argument, maybe there's less to it than you think. You don't have to feel much of anything about facts for them to be right. They just kind of are, regardless of how you feel about them.
What? Come on!
I know, it's baffling, right? Things are correct, no matter how upset you get about it. Weird, I know.
Okay, so check it out. People that subscribe to the globe theory and are so indoctrinated to it, and they are just so all up its ass.
Colourful. And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I'm actually using the sound of his noisy car pre-removal as a bleep. I know! I think it's clever too. And I just thought I would let you know because I didn't think anybody would notice. So now you can all worship me and the little things I do to improve your pathetic, indoctrinated, up the behind the globe lives with all the smarts that I do. You're welcome, sheeple.
Why? What is that doing for you?
Believing the Earth is an oblate spheroid is the only way that I can cut.
What is the globe doing for you? How is that improving your life? How is that making any kind of difference?
Well, you see all the things like satellites and bridges and certain buildings and all sorts of other crap that are designed with the shape of the Earth in mind, and if the Earth wasn't that shape, they would probably cease to work. Yeah, those things. I've still yet to hear a flat Earth version of how GPS and satellite communication would actually work on a flat Earth. But yeah, having things work. That's why I'm perfectly happy to accept the Earth the way it is. And the idea that all these very smart people have somehow been getting these things to work despite being completely wrong? It's a little bit far-fetched. And here's the thing. I can just hand this argument right back to you. Why do you need to believe the Earth is flat?
What's it doing? I'll tell you what it's doing. It's making you think that God is...
Not doing a real?
irrelevant.
Heh, Close enough.
Outdated. But people, you want to rely on this math and all this science bullshit.
He says, whilst driving a vehicle with a combustion engine, capturing images and sound to a tiny device and then shooting said light and sound across the planet near instantly. Yeah, no, science is BS. You just take advantage of everything it has given you every single day. Not a hypocrite at all, are you?
But you don't want to take the one book that speaks the truth that we can see with our eyeballs and we can prove over and over.
What? Your argument is that the earth is flat because the Bible exists? Dude, a whole heap of religious texts exist. You know what that proves? That people write books. And even if you want to say, hey, the Bible is all true. Okay, I'll find you 10 different people who would agree to that. And all of them would still say, but it doesn't make the earth flat, for a variety of different reasons with different interpretations. That's what I like about science. We tend to go with the interpretation that reflects the real. It makes life way easier.
I don't want to hear you people say, well, the Bible's full of contradictions, because it's not.
Well, it is.
Does Yahweh delight in burnt offerings?
Yes.
No. Correct. Is God the author of evil?
Yes.
No. Correct. According to Genesis, were humans created before the animals?
Yes.
No. Correct.
And that's far, far, far from the only ones. And really, why don't you want to hear the contradictions? Is it because you don't have anything resembling a counter to them? Come on, tell me, how couldn't there be any, even if only by mistake? Considering that regardless of what you believe the origin of the words are, it was still written and translated by fallible men. If you don't believe it has any mistakes or contradictions, I think you are wildly overestimating people. Have you met people? They're rubbish.
Okay? We have a dictionary. Okay? Do we know what a dictionary is? A dictionary defines words that we use for a language so that everybody can understand what the hell we're talking about.
That was not an answer, and in the context of this video, a completely incomprehensible non sequitur. Dictionaries define words, therefore the Bible has no contradiction? How does that even work? And as always, the silliest part of all this is you could just sweep away all the need to justify the Bible and what was written all those years ago if you just said, well, it's not literal, it's allegory, etc., etc. I mean, it doesn't help the case for God, but it certainly saves you a lot of jumping through hoops trying to make sense of that tangled mess. Thinking it's all literal just lacks... what's it called now?
Common sense.
Oh yeah, that. Thank you. Lol.
Okay. So what the fuck is the globe doing for you? Besides lying to you.
Globe? You wouldn't lie to me, would you? No. Ah, good. Fool.
Making us all miserable and insignificant and accidental.
I mean, the globe didn't do that. In terms of accidental, you'll have to talk to your mum. And in terms of insignificant, well, you really should take that up with your perception. I mean, yeah, in one way, we're all just dust in the wind of the universe. But in another, and it's one of my favourite phrases, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. That sounds pretty damn significant to me. But it's all about perspective, as I said. And if you can't accept reality because your own interpretation of it makes you feel bad, well, that's no one's problem but your own.
As if, given enough time, Mount Rushmore will just create itself, right? Just evolve itself.
Wow, we are just getting into everything today, aren't we? Okay, if there was a mechanism for Mount Rushmore to replicate with variation over time and some kind of selection forcing like natural selection, but for monuments, that favour Mount Rushmore to be the way Mount Rushmore is, then given enough time, yes. But that's not how carvings work, and I'm guessing you have literal zero understanding of how evolution works at all. Let me give you a clue to start you off though. It isn't random. Certainly not as you understand it. And I'm betting that you think it is. Anyone who tells you that it is either a liar or an idiot.
Come on. So this fucking horizon, okay, is flat. Everywhere you look, from any altitude you look at it.
No, it isn't. You can detect it from around 35,000 feet. Now, that doesn't mean you can eyeball it from that absolutely tiny FOV that an aircraft cabin window grants you. That means you could, on a clear day, measure it with the right tools. Now, would you do that? Doubt. But you could.
You want to know what else? Just fucking makes me crazy.
I imagine it's the goblins in your head. And speaking of goblins in one's head, many people wonder where I get people like this from. What do I do to find these individuals? Well, it's quite simple, really. I browse. I browse. I browse! Do you find yourself wondering, how can me show humans I am the smart? Is am the way to thinking being a purchase? Well, to answer your incredibly poorly worded questions, yes, I think. Honestly, I have no idea what you want, but I'll be damned if I don't take this as an opportunity to sell you things. Like new improved Sick brand merch, now featuring the designer of almost all Sick brand merch. Right, the name's on the tip of my tongue. I want to say Cheryl Pringle? No, wait, it's Mrs. Sick. That's right, I always forget she exists. Also, handsome, famous, and good at the sex tease. Ampersand, not forgetting this pretty badass comic book style one that I would buy myself if I wasn't so poor. Sick brand merch, because we're tired of eating stray cats. Oh, there's one now. Get it!